Are you planning your projects to fail? My name is Guilherme and I'm a project management expert. I help professionals there to become successful project managers. In practice, I can do that in several different ways, from training, mentoring, coaching, consulting, and so on. But anyway, if you want to develop your project management skills, my goal is to support you in this journey. The live I'm going to do today is about planning your project and estimation. And it's interesting. I had this idea last week. So last week I was moving. So as part of moving, I was moving houses, and I live in the Netherlands. One of the weird stuff that happens here, sometimes you rent a house, you need to install a floor, and once you move out, depending on the new tenant, you have to take it out the floor. But what does it have anything to do with project management? Very simple. When I was moving out, the new tenant he told me, I want to install a new floor for this house. So I had to plan my very small project there to take it out the floor for the entire house and to make sure that I could deliver the house on time. So one of the interesting things I've that was the first time I was doing something like that. So I had no data how I'm going to estimate something like that. So I started to make an estimation saying, take out the floor of the house. How long do I need to do that? Then I had an idea saying, I think maybe I can do that in 1 day. And that was my first estimation, my first plan that I created for that. A couple of days later, I started thinking, saying, yeah, probably take it out the floor. It's not the difficult part, but I'm going to take it out. I need to take it out the floor. I need to put in my car. I need to drive to a specific place where I can throw the material off out. Then I start to revisit and say, maybe I should change it. Maybe 3 days that will be enough. And while I was even working the floor, I started to think about on how this happens quite often while you are executing a project. So a lot of times people think, oh, how long do you need to do something else? How long do you need? What's the lead time for a supplier? What's the lead time for component X, for hardware, blah, blah, blah? What's the lead time for this too? And someone gets an answer, oh, the lead time for that is 8 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever it is. And then suddenly you put in your timeline 8 weeks. But what they are thinking is the lead time from the supplier. What they forget from the tool there that or for whatever you're buying, plus you have a time for the RFQ. You have a time to review the RFQ, so you have a time to select the supplier, you have a time to create a PO, you have a time to approve the PO, you have to send the PO to the supplier. The supplier needs to do something before they can start to count the lead time. So, and why I'm saying that? Because while I was working the floor, taking out the floor of my house, I was thinking, yeah, taking out the floor is the easy part. And even though after I put the 3 days estimation, I completed the entire floor, but there was something else. There was the sound insulation that goes below the floor that I also had to take it off. And in the ground floor there was some water insulation there that I also had to take it off. Although it was the amount of work there was much less, it cost me a few extra hours. And from my initial thought of say I can do that in 1 day, it ended up I did that in 4 days. Of course, I did not end up working the full day. I worked a few hours in the morning, then in the afternoon I was doing something else. But that's a very simple case that shows how you things can go wrong with your planning. Because even though, like going to the example of the house there, if I count down the hours straight, probably that I work only to take out the floor and okay, transport the material and throw it out. Likely it took me around 8 hours, or yeah, around 8 hours should be enough. 9 hours. Say, okay, that's a 1 day work. Yes, but after working for a few hours, I was tired. So the performance, the speed that I could take it off, transport this to my car to drive to the place where I would have threw it out, it starts to go down because I start to get tired. So I start to produce less. So that's what I say, okay, I'm going to work a few hours here and I'm going to do something else. Then I come back the other day fresh to do it again. those are the kind of things that that people usually forget when they're estimating timelines. They say, "Ah, we are going to do that," but they forget. Okay, if you do only one day, very difficult that you are going to find any type of work there that you can get people working one full day there, one unstop, one day working a full day there without stopping there. This happens in projects all the time. So, and that's also why it's important that you keep reviewing your plan, you keep thinking about your plan. I've seen a lot of project managers, and I talk with them and say, "What do you plan here?" I think that can be done in 3 weeks. Well, they are thinking the time that effectively a task needs to be done. And for example, in the example of my case, okay, you need 8 hours or 9 hours. Also, it can be done in one day. But if I would have to try to get it done in one day, likely I would not be able to do that because I would be tired. Then in the end of the day, the place where I need to go to throw the trash or the rest of the floor there would be closed, and there was several other stuff. And this I'm not even counting the the insulation part that was below the floor, and also the water insulation part that was below the floor. That took me kind of half a day extra or 3 hours extra to take it off. And every time I see a project manager planning like that and not reviewing, that's when things go wrong. Because the first time you create a plan, you say, "Oh, I'm going to ship for example, you need to build samples and you need to send to the customer." I say, "Okay, I'm going to build samples, whatever it takes, I don't know, 2 weeks, 1 month, and I send to the customer. That's so the customer can get after 1 month." But then goes a bit, okay, who is this going to be responsible for the shipment? If it's me, so the customer will not get it after 1 month. The customer will get after, you usually depending from where you're shipping, how you're shipping. But they say it's not going to be 4 weeks. It's going to be 5 weeks because you need to include time for the shipment. And then you think about, oh, but before there's a quality step that needs to be taken to make sure that the samples are good before I ship anything to the customer. And those small details that usually they do not pop up at the first time is what's going to make your plan going bad. That's what's going to make you planning to fail. And that's why I'm saying I've seen project managers say, "Oh, that can be done." And I had a discussion recently about that one. That can be done in 3 weeks. In reality, I said, in reality, not, because you're assuming here a best case scenario, which, if you look statistically, there does not happen very often. Yes, can be done. Yes, can be done. Statistically, can be done. Does it happen often? For that, you need to understand a bit about the normal distribution there. So, why I'm telling you is this is if you do not understand the details that you need to input into your plan, how you are going to make this plan to make sense, if you do not continue to review that, chances are that you're going to have a bad plan. Because more you reflect for your plan, more you're going to find out that there are some details that you need to take care of. Not only to meet your timeline, not only to meet your project goal, to make sure that also you mitigate risks. For example, once in one of my projects, I was reviewing my plan there. Then this was a part that's supposed to be airtight, and that part to be airtight, it had to go like a shock absorber inside of that. It was for a car, of course. And then say, okay, but we are going to test this air suspension here without the shock absorber. If I take it out the shock absorber, the part's not going to be airtight. Then I say, something is not matching here. Then I go and talk with my lead designer. Say, yeah, how we are going to do that? Then he said, no, no, we order a feature to make sure that we could do that, and we could build samples that are airtight without the shock absorber. I said, nice. How many pieces did you order? And he told me two. And I looked to him and said, yeah, but we want to test 12 parts. So if we want to meet in the timeline, we need to order extra features for that. And of course, this was something that I ended up discussing 3 or 4 months before the test. So we had time to order extra parts and so on. But this is the kind of detail, if you don't think about that, that's going to hit you in the face. Because then you're going to be able to test, in this example, to test two, and the other 10 you're not going to be able to build. The details, they're going to matter. The details understanding, and I'm putting manufacturing examples here too, but that happens exactly the same thing with construction. Understanding the details of a construction or for an expansion, that's what's going to make you to create a good plan. But think about if you have a project that takes 1 or 2 years to be executed. You're not going to be able to think about all the details and what's going to happen in 2 years in the future. That more even likely does not make even sense to do that. For the simple case, it's too far away for you to think there's too many unknowns to enter the level of detail that you need there. So that's why it's important that you're going to review your plan and see for the next 6 months what we need to understand, what I'm going to plan in more details for the next period, and so on. And you keep reviewing to make sure that you're working into your plan to make sure your project is going to succeed, not to create a crazy plan there that will not add anything for you for the project. So be careful with those plans where you are not considering the project itself. You're just making low level assumptions uh, that you're making low level assumptions there about the details of your project. And coming back to my example where I mentioned that yeah, I see someone commenting that you are new here. Welcome. uh, just to go back to the example of me taking the floor of the house. First thing I said, okay, I can do it in one day. It ended up that it was 3.5 days. Why? Because not my the problem was not my initial plan was bad. The problem is first I underestimate the amount of work that I could do in one day. Although it ended up 8 hours, yeah, you are not going to be able to produce the full 8 hours there. I was getting tired and so on. Then there was the details. Oh, I need to transport. I need to put this in the car because of the size of the truck of my car. I cannot only do one trip per day to bring out the material and so on. But all those details they only pop up if you start to think on that one. Of course, this was something that I did in few days, and of course I was thinking on that one, and more I was doing more is more I get close to the work, more it's easier to clarify things there and your project is going to be exactly the same thing. So be careful and make sure that you're planning this in the right situation there. Otherwise, this is going to come and bite you in the future there. As I already mentioned there, this is what you need to plan your project if you want to go deeper to develop your planning skills to understand how you plan a project there. Planner Pro live training will start tomorrow. Tomorrow, 4th of March, because depending when you are watching this video, that's the tomorrow is not there anymore. We are going to have 12 sessions via Zoom where I'm going to show you all the details that you need to develop your planning skills. If you want, and if you cannot join live, everything is going to be recorded. Everything is going to be available there for you to watch it later on, including 6 months Q&A support to make sure that you can implement the concepts there and to make sure that you can perform in your project there. So the only thing that you need to do here, click in the link, check the information, enroll. Again, the planning will start tomorrow. The sessions will be 8 p.m. London time, 2 sessions per week. We are going to do that for 6 weeks to make sure that we get the momentum and we can cover everything. Here is my invite for you. If you are interested to develop your planning skills, make sure you join there and you don't miss anything there. Thank you very much for staying with me. If you have questions, you can put here in the comments. I can reach it out. If not, you also can send me a direct message on Instagram. Again, don't forget to follow me for more content. I'm sharing more content every day on Instagram and YouTube here every week. And because in the end, if your goal is to develop your project management skill, my goal is to support you in that journey. Thank you and see you soon. Bye.